Hello everyone, today we dive into one of the most baffling aviation mysteries of modern times. A story that has gripped the world with fear, confusion, and endless speculation. It is a story about a plane carrying 239 people, a plane that simply vanished into the night skies without leaving behind a clear explanation. Despite years of investigations, international searches, satellite data, and countless theories, the truth about what happened remains elusive. This is the chilling tale of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, the plane that vanished into thin air. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia. The Boeing 777-200ER was scheduled to fly to Beijing, China, on what should have been a routine journey of about 6 hours. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members, representing 14 different nationalities. For many of those people, it was just another flight. Families were going home, business travelers were on the move, and others were heading to new opportunities in China. None of them could have imagined that this flight would become one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. The flight took off at 12:41 a.m. local time. Weather conditions were normal, the plane was in excellent condition, and the crew was experienced. Captain Zahiri Ahmad Shah, 53, was a veteran pilot with over 18,000 flight hours. His co-pilot, Farik Abdul Hamid, was 27 years old and relatively new to the Boeing 777, but still qualified and trusted. There was nothing unusual at the start of the flight. Air traffic controllers tracked MH370 as it climbed to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Everything seemed routine. At 1:19 a.m., about 40 minutes into the flight, Malaysian air traffic controllers instructed the crew to contact Vietnamese air traffic control as the plane was about to enter Vietnam's airspace. The co-pilot responded with the words, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those would be the last known words heard from the cockpit. Just minutes later, the plane's transponder, which communicates with air traffic control, was turned off. From that moment onward, MH370 disappeared from civilian radar screens. What happened next has fueled nearly a decade of speculation. Military radar picked up a mysterious unidentified aircraft, making a sharp turn to the west, away from its original flight path to Beijing. This aircraft, which was later confirmed to be MH370, flew back across the Malay Peninsula, over the Strait of Malacca, and into the Andaman Sea. The turn was so sharp and precise that investigators concluded it was manually executed, suggesting someone in the cockpit deliberately changed the course of the plane. For hours, MH370 continued to fly undetected by civilian radar. However, satellites operated by Inmarsat, a British company, picked up signals, or handshakes, from the aircraft as it flew. These were automated pings between the plane and the satellite network, occurring every hour. Based on these signals, analysts determined that the plane continued flying for nearly 7 hours after losing contact, traveling deep into the southern Indian Ocean. The last signal was received at 8:19 a.m., suggesting the aircraft had exhausted its fuel supply and likely crashed into the ocean. Despite this analysis, the exact location of the crash could not be determined. The Indian Ocean is vast and unforgiving, covering millions of square miles. Search operations began immediately, involving multiple countries, ships, planes, and advanced technology. It became the largest search effort in aviation history. Yet, in the initial months, no trace of the plane was found. Families of the passengers were left in agony, desperate for answers, while investigators struggled to piece together the puzzle. As months turned into years, small pieces of debris began to wash ashore on distant beaches. In July 2015, a flaperon, a wing component from a Boeing 777, was discovered on Reunion Island off the coast of Africa, thousands of miles from the plane's last known location. Additional debris, including parts of the wing's fuselage and interior cabin items, were later found in Madagascar, Mozambique, and Tanzania. These discoveries confirmed that the plane had indeed crashed into the ocean, but the main wreckage and the black boxes remained missing. Theories about the disappearance exploded across the globe. Some believed it was a deliberate act by the pilot, suggesting that Captain Zaheri had intentionally diverted the plane for reasons unknown. Others suspected hijacking, terrorism, or a catastrophic mechanical failure. Some even suggested far-fetched ideas like alien abduction, secret military experiments, or the possibility that the plane was hidden somewhere for sinister purposes. The lack of concrete evidence only fueled speculation, making MH370 a modern legend of mystery and tragedy. The families of those on board were left in torment. Vigils were held, protests erupted, and lawsuits were filed. Many accused Malaysia Airlines and the Malaysian government of mishandling the investigation, withholding information, and failing to coordinate effectively with other nations. The pain of not knowing what happened to their loved ones was unbearable. For some, closure has never come. The official investigation, led by Malaysia with assistance from international experts, concluded in 2018 with a 495-page report. The report acknowledged that the plane's diversion was likely due to unlawful interference, but admitted that the cause could not be determined with certainty. The lack of evidence, particularly the absence of the flight recorders, meant that the mystery remained unresolved. The report frustrated families and experts alike, as it raised more questions than answers. One of the most haunting aspects of the MH370 mystery is the possibility that the passengers and crew were alive for hours after the plane's disappearance. If the plane continued flying for nearly 7 hours, what happened inside during that time? Were the passengers conscious? Did they know they were off course? Or were they incapacitated by a sudden loss of oxygen, flying silently over the ocean until the fuel ran out? These questions remain chillingly unanswered. As the years pass, MH370 continues to capture the imagination of the world. Documentaries, books, and articles revisit the case, offering new theories and insights. Independent researchers continue to analyze satellite data, ocean currents, and recovered debris. Some believe that new technology, like advanced underwater drones, might one day locate the wreckage. Until then, MH370 remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries in history. The story of flight MH370 is not just about a plane that vanished. It is about the lives lost, the families left behind, and the haunting reality that in our modern age of technology, an aircraft can still disappear without a trace. It challenges our understanding of safety, communication, and the limits of human knowledge. The disappearance of flight MH370 has given rise to countless theories, some grounded in aviation science, others built on suspicion, and a few drifting into the realm of the extraordinary. To understand why this mystery remains so gripping, we need to explore these possibilities in detail. One of the most prominent theories is that the captain, Zaheri Ahmed Shah, deliberately diverted the plane. Zaheri was an experienced pilot, respected by colleagues, and had no prior record of misconduct. However, investigators discovered that his home flight simulator contained data resembling a flight path into the southern Indian Ocean, eerily similar to the suspected route of MH370. Supporters of this theory believe Zaheri carefully planned the disappearance, possibly due to personal struggles or political motivations. Critics argue that simulator data proves nothing and could have been part of routine practice flights. Without a note or direct evidence, the theory remains speculative. Another theory centers around hijacking. In the 2000s, fears of terrorist attacks were heightened, and early speculation suggested MH370 might have been commandeered. However, no terrorist group claimed responsibility, no ransom demands were made, and no credible evidence of hijacking emerged. Some analysts suggested the possibility of a sophisticated cyber hijacking, remotely taking control of the aircraft systems, but no proof supports this. The hijacking theory lingers largely because the precise course changes appear deliberate, as though someone was in control. Technical failure is another possibility. Could MH370 have suffered a catastrophic event that disabled its communications but allowed it to keep flying on autopilot? A fire in the cockpit or cargo area might have filled the cabin with smoke, knocking out the crew and passengers while the plane continued flying until fuel exhaustion. In this ghost flight scenario, the final hours of MH370 were silent, with everyone on board unconscious. Yet critics point out that such a failure would likely have left evidence detectable in debris or signals, and none has been found. Then there are more unsettling possibilities. Some suggest that the plane was shot down, either intentionally or by mistake, by a military force. The Indian Ocean is home to significant military activity, and some claim a cover-up could have concealed the truth. Yet, if such an event had occurred, debris would likely have been more widely scattered and more quickly found. No government has admitted involvement, and no evidence confirms this theory. More fantastical explanations have also been proposed. Some speculate that MH370 landed secretly on a remote island, hidden for unknown reasons. Others invoke conspiracies involving intelligence agencies, secret cargo, or even alien abduction. While these ideas may capture public imagination, they lack credible evidence and are widely dismissed by aviation experts. The ocean itself is part of the mystery. The southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote and treacherous regions on Earth. Its vast size, extreme depths, and shifting currents make it incredibly difficult to search. The ocean floor is rugged, filled with trenches and ridges that conceal wreckage. Even with advanced sonar and drones, only a fraction of the search area could be thoroughly examined. This explains why, despite the most extensive search in aviation history, the main wreckage remains hidden. Over the years, debris has trickled in, carried by currents across thousands of miles. Each discovery provides small clues, but also deepens the mystery. The flaperon found on Reunion Island, for instance, confirmed the aircraft's fate, but revealed little about the cause. Other pieces, like cabin panels and engine parts, indicate a high-speed impact with water. Still, the absence of the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, means the story remains incomplete. The impact of MH370's disappearance on aviation has been profound. Airlines and governments have since implemented changes to improve tracking systems, ensuring that aircraft cannot simply disappear from radar. New regulations require planes to transmit their positions more frequently, and satellite-based tracking has been expanded. The tragedy forced the industry to confront its vulnerabilities and highlighted the need for better global coordination. For the families of the passengers, however, these changes provide little comfort. The uncertainty of not knowing their loved one's final moments is a pain that never fades. Many families continue to demand renewed searches, insisting that answers lie at the bottom of the ocean. Their relentless advocacy keeps MH370 in the public eye, ensuring the story is never forgotten. The cultural impact of MH370 is also undeniable. Books, documentaries, and films revisit the story repeatedly, each offering new perspectives or theories. For many, MH370 symbolizes the fragility of modern certainty, the unsettling idea that even in an age of satellites, global surveillance, and advanced technology, something as large as a Boeing 777 can vanish. It challenges the belief that the world is fully mapped, monitored, and controlled. There are also haunting human questions. If the plane was deliberately diverted, why? If it was an accident, how could such a modern aircraft fail so completely without a distress call? If the passengers were alive for hours, what did they experience? Did they sense something was wrong, or were they unaware until the very end? These questions, left unanswered, are what keep the mystery alive. Even today, researchers continue to push for new searches. Independent groups use ocean drift modeling to predict where wreckage might surface, while others use satellite imagery to scour remote waters. Private companies have offered to resume the search under no-find, no-fee contracts, meaning they would only be paid if the wreckage is discovered. Hope persists that one day the black boxes will be recovered, finally revealing MH370's final moments. Until then, Flight MH370 remains suspended between tragedy and enigma. It is a story about more than a missing plane. It is about the limits of human knowledge, the resilience of those left behind, and the haunting silence of unanswered questions. It reminds us that even in an age of progress, mysteries still exist, waiting patiently in the shadows of the unknown. And so, the mystery endures. Was MH370 the result of deliberate human action, catastrophic accident, or something we have yet to imagine? For now, the answer remains hidden beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our time.